Back in 1844, when Charles Goodyear received his patent for stumbling upon vulcanized rubber, and at the same time Thomas Hancock was in the UK doing something very similar, there was no way they could have seen how such an invention would change the world that we live in. To take that a step further, when the first rubber-soled shoe was being created in 1876, I doubt they could have imagined that the design would evolve into what might be the most coveted sneaker ever created, the Air Jordan 11. This holiday season, Jordan Brand is scheduled to release the Air Jordan 11 in the black, true red, and white colorway, which is affectionately known as BRED for black and red, or playoff colorway. When it was originally released back in 1996, the shoe was the most technologically advanced shoe on the market, and it was on the feet of the player that would go on to be granted the title of the greatest of all time. But the truth of that matter is, it was more than that. The shoe took a life of its own, not because of how it performed on the court, but because of how it looked. It is the pinnacle of what many signature shoes try to achieve today. A shoe that can perform on the court and perform just as well on the feet of those that are just not tall enough to make it to the NBA like myself. For this video, I wanted to dig deeper than just the surface. I wanted to dig into the design and find the why. What is it about this shoe that gives it enough clout that Jordan Brand can literally release this shoe in different colorways for 10 years straight, and the sneaker community still hungers for more? It's a feat very few sneakers have achieved, and I doubt very many will in the future, even though we are in a time when shoes are being 3D printed and they lace themselves up by using your smartphone. As we all know, design and technology are key components of a performance sneaker, particularly a basketball sneaker. And with the Jordan 11, you see one of the rare moments when these two intersect and impact the way that shoes are made from really that moment on. Starting with the design of the shoe, Tinker Hatfield, the man who designed every Jordan since the Air Jordan 3 at that point, wasn't sure that Mike would be returning from his self-imposed retirement. However, despite the uncertainty and the pushback from the brass at Nike, he continued to work on the shoe, actually designing it in secret. Unlike today, when players like Kobe Bryant still have an active signature line after retirement, that wasn't the case back in the 90s. Nike thought the Jordan line was over, and so did Tinker, to be honest. But being the renegade that he is, he continued in secret working on the design of the shoe anyway, because he believed the Jordan Brand line could live on regardless of whether Mike was playing or not. One of the most striking elements of the Air Jordan 11 is the patent leather. It changed the way the sneakers were made at the time. Tinker, watching game tape of Michael play, happened to notice that Mike would put some force on his shoes when he was changing directions, and that his foot would actually roll over on top. In Tinker's mind, this actually slowed Mike down. By adding the patent leather, he figured it would be stronger and could withstand the forces Mike was putting on his shoes when he was cutting and give him that little bit of an edge. Often called the mud guard or the Ran, the patent leather actually served two purposes. Tinker also wanted to create something that obviously looks good both on and off of the court for Mike. Rumor has it that MJ had been asking for something he could wear with the suit, and the patent leather, well, that fit the bill perfectly. However, patent leather wasn't the only big technological innovation on the shoe. This brings us to the nearly hidden material on the Air Jordan 11, carbon fiber. Having never been used on a basketball shoe before, Tinker was again breaking ground and pushing the boundaries of what we have come to expect from a performance sneaker. Prior to this time, carbon fiber had never been used on a basketball shoe before, and the shank plate on other shoes were made with other various materials, but Tinker's vision was to make the shoe faster, lighter, stronger, and that all brought him to the lightweight and rigid material of carbon fiber. That brings us to the upper. A new nylon ballistic mesh was added to lead up to the padded collar. Called Cordura nylon or sometimes Cordura mesh, the material is like ultra lightweight and manages to maintain its strength despite its elasticity. Tinker also included a webbing around the midfoot that adheres to the shape of your foot. It works with your foot to help keep you locked in along with the mesh. MJ introduced the popular Concord colorway of the Air Jordan 11 in the playoffs in '95, as well as the Space Jam colorway, which he also wore in the movie Space Jam, which we're all familiar with. When the shoe finally went on sale later that year, kids were waiting in line to buy them. Tinker has since called the Air Jordan 11 his favorite design. As for Michael, he feels the same way. The Bulls that year went 72-10. He won the MVP for the finals, regular season, and the All-Star game, not to mention his 4th NBA championship. For the 2019 version of the Jordan 11, Jordan Brand did what they always do. They made changes to the way the sneaker looked. Nothing drastic like a Jordan 6 rings or something like that. This time the changes were a bit more subtle. Simple things like the packaging and presentation of the shoe have been changed from the usual high gloss materials of the past that made the Air Jordan 11s feel special in its retro life to me to something closer to the original. Now, to be fair, you can't wear your box around. No one sees that but you. However, for those of us that like to collect, I must say it was a bit of a blow to see the new packaging get tossed for something that was less complex, I'd say. But in the same breath, if you love the original style box and was never able to get an OG pair of the 11s, this presents an option for you to add that small detail to your collection with the black and orange box with the flip top instead of the slide out box that I personally prefer. It just makes it easier to get a pair out when it's in a stack of shoes on the wall. As for the shoe itself, although it does adhere to all the things we love about the Air Jordan 11, it was also changed slightly. The patent leather is a little different from pairs that were released in the past. Not the actual material, but the way the material is cut. For those that are new to the sneaker world, this may not matter to you at all, but if you've been around the sneaker culture for a while, you'll notice the difference. I personally don't mind the change, and to be honest, unless you are really into sneaker design and sweat those sort of small details, most people will not even notice the difference unless you have the pairs side by side. One thing you don't have to worry about is how reflective that patent leather is. You're definitely going to shine in these. As for the rest of the design, it is pretty true to what we have seen in the past. The black mesh panels on the forefoot look identical to the past pairs, as does the Jumpman Jordan logo on the tongue. A detail that I think people overlook but would get upset about if Jordan ever changed is the laces. For this pair, they return in those thick rope style laces that just work with the style of lacing and really seem to bring this whole system to life. Around the heel, there is plenty of padding, and the leather panel that houses the Jumpman logo feels similar to the quality we have seen on this model before. The textured white midsole wraps from the toe to the heel and serves as the perfect backdrop to that red outsole. So good. In a way, the red outsole is what really helps bring this shoe together to me. Yes, we have the patent leather and the mesh on the upper, but the outsole is the final piece that pulls the whole thing together in my mind. I'm not sure if it is the contrast between the black and the red, the matching of the Jumpman logo and the red outsole, or a combination of both of those things that make it work, but it just works. Tinker could have easily made it black or gum or white even, and it just wouldn't have had the same impact that it has in this version in my eyes. Looking beneath the red outsole, we see the Jumpman logo in black, which is anchored by the 2 grip pads at the heel and the toe. Finishing up the design is a black and white carbon fiber plate, which was added to give the shoe the rigidity that Tinker wanted to make the shoe the performance beast that it is. Between the shoe and the box, you see the message that the shoe was engineered to the exact specifications of the best. Though most believe at the time that Jordan was one of the best to play the game, not many knew how far and how wide his legacy would actually take him. Part of that legacy, well, it lives within his signature sneakers. The Jordan 11 is one of the few sneakers that nearly everyone you talk to knows about and wants to have. It has surpassed the cool shoe phase to being what I would wager the shoe that most non-sneaker people think about when you ask them about the quote-unquote, I would say Michael Jordan shoe. Not many signature athletes can say something like that. In fact, not many brands can say something like that. Patent leather, Cordura nylon, carbon fiber, the design mind of Tinker, and the incredible game of Michael Jordan. It is those things that make this shoe, the Air Jordan 11, such a cool and remarkable shoe. Sizing wise, these fit like normal Air Jordan 11s, and I would recommend getting your normal size if you're looking to pick up a pair on December 14th when they drop. Obviously, if you have never worn a pair of these, you should go try a pair on first, but I think you would be safe with your normal size. Pricing is a little steep for a basketball shoe, I'll be honest. It's $220, but that is no different than the price we paid for the shoe last year, if that helps. It really is, in my mind, a shoe that everyone wants, and with the rumors I've heard, if you don't have a pair yet, this should be a very good year for you to get your hands on a pair. All right, let me know what you guys think about the Air Jordan 11 BRED down below, and if you feel it, hit the subscribe button, and if you really like what you see, tap that like button and turn on your notifications. I'm Jacques Slade, and as always, I'll see you guys soon. Peace.